Bhaskar Shukla from NIT Rourkela. He's going to talk about interplay of magnetic field and chemical potential induce anisotropic and frame-dependent chaos of suspended string from holographic QCD model. But I think in summary, some holographic QCD and chaos.
So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Bhaskar Shukla from NIT Rourkela. So today I'll be basically talking about in short effect of magnetic field and chemical potential on the holographic QCD chaos. So let's start with. So actually this talk in this part is like there was a first paper which just dealt with the magnetic field, and now we are also trying to include the chemical potential into it. So the work was primarily inspired by Professor Hashimoto. Actually, he was doing this stuff back in 2000 something. So we just like were inspired by one of his models and tried to. And also, I was lucky to meet him at that Kabi Institute in Japan. So yeah, so I also showed him like whatever work we were doing. So you can follow him Hashimoto on Twitter if you are, because right now he's not like focusing on QCD, but he's also working on this machine learning things. So if anyone of you are interested in machine learning, like we have ADS-CFT and now he's working on ADS-DL, basically ADS deep learning correspondence. So if anyone is interested, you can just follow him. Now let's start with introduction. Okay, so ADS-CFT everyone knows here, like, so if anyone is unfamiliar, they can, everyone's familiar with ADS-CFT, right? Okay, so now coming to chaos. So basically the start of chaos was from famous meteorologist Edward Lorenz. So he was working on this weather models and he was noting down all the parameters from variables for his model. So sometimes like there was an his printer broke down. So what he did, like instead of like the last data that he got, he just noted down the variables all. Like they were up to like up to 8 power of decimal, up to like, so he noted down up to 8 power, and then from there that he started again. So what he found, like if the printer had not broken down and the system would have evolved, the result would have been quite different. And with the new data, with like very slight change to the initial conditions, the result was quite drastic. So from there, this concept of whole chaos, basically sensitive dependence to initial conditions. And it's a deterministic system, it's not a probabilistic system, but it's very sensitive. So if you tiny change or perturb your system, initial conditions a little bit, system just drastically changes. So that's the definition of like physics definition of chaos. Deterministic system with sensitive dependence to initial conditions. So this is the famous Lorenz attractor, which whoever is working on chaos might have read or seen out. So it's like from here the whole concept of butterfly came into picture. Like the attractor is like that, it looks like a butterfly wings. So whatever, if you take your system and slightly perturb your initial conditions, system can go either into the left painful strange attractor or the blue strange attractor, depending on your initial conditions. So that's why it was a very beautiful system. It was very elaborately studied. So this is the basic model that is from where all the chaos came. So now in semi-classical chaos, like I'm not going to talk about Botox, like ODOCs, like yesterday Banashri did. I'm not talking about Botox and all other things. I'm going to talk about semi-classical methods that we use for detecting chaos. So this is like a pictorial representation of chaos. It's basically we all have a phase space. So what you do, like if you take a cross section of the phase space and for different energies, like you take a energy surface of cross section and you like map around, take the points, you will get some like orbits, and there's some kind of dust. So here I am changing the energy of my surface, and basic energy you can see that the surface is irregular in the low energy case, and as is gradually I am increasing the energy, you can see the dust coming out of it. So in point K section, when there's more the dust, that means more the chaos. If you have regular orbits, less the chaos. So that's the rough picture what point K section does. Now for Lyapunov exponent, that was like a graphical way of detecting chaos. Now if I want to quantify it, for quantifying I have the Lyapunov exponent. So Lyapunov exponent is basically roughly gives you the separation of your trajectories. If you have two trajectories starting from the initial point and you slightly perturb it, like by very tiny amount, so how those actually grow exponentially? That is detected by the Lyapunov exponent, which I will be using my and here depending on your dimension of system, suppose if you have n-dimensional system, you will have n Lyapunov exponent. So suppose for 3-dimensional I have 3 Lyapunov exponent, 4 Lyapunov exponent, and if your system is conservative, then the sum of Lyapunov exponent will be 0. If your system is dissociative, then it may or may not be 0. And we basically focus on the maximum Lyapunov exponent. So if the maximum Lyapunov exponent is negative or all negative, we have a steady system. If we have like 1 0 1 negative, then we have periodic orbit. And the crucial detection of chaos by Lyapunov exponent is if your maximum Lyapunov exponent is positive. If it comes out to be positive, then it's an indicator that your system is chaotic. So these were the basic concepts. Now coming to the introduction. So basically I'm working in QCD. So you know during the RHIC we have heavy center line collisions, and during that a background magnetic field is generated. So basically what we are trying to understand is how that magnetic field that is being generated is affecting the chaotic properties of QCD. QCD is inherently chaotic in its deconfined phase, and how the magnetic field is affecting that chaos. Basically we are trying to study it. That was in the first paper. Now we are also trying to include the effect of chemical potential. So basically it's an interplay of magnetic field and the chemical potential. And one more thing, we are using 2 frames. Normally when we are doing any string work, we use the string frame. A string frame is like we have a dilaton field that we always include in our work when you are working string frame. But there are some papers which have like, if you suppose you don't include the dilaton field, you take it away, and then you work on it, then you have Einstein frame. So I have done both in Einstein frame as well as string frame. And we also look at how the magnetic field and the computational their combined effect will stabilize or destabilize the QCD in this long run. And one more thing is MSS bound. MSS bound is very important for a thermal system. MSS basically it's like short for Malda-Sinha, Stanford. We all 3 came together and gave a bond. It's called Malda-Sinha, Stanford bond, which is like for any thermal system, the maximum Lyapunov exponent should be always less or equal to 2 pi the temperature divided by h cross. Basically that's the bound, and it should for any thermal system, that's all there. For that the maximum Lyapunov exponent should always be less than that. That's basically the bound, and it should be always satisfied.
So the way you are modeling your QCD deconfinement is this suspended string in a gravitational background. That's like the model you are studying.
Okay, I will talk about it. So what is the model? That was a brief overview like what we are going to do. Now the model is like, so this is the model. We are basically using a 5-dimensional Einstein-Maxwell dilaton system. So that's the action, and all the things that FMN is the field strength tensor for the even gauge field. Phi is very important, it's a dilaton field. Fi is the gauge kinetic function which represents the coupling between the even gauge field and dilaton field, and V phi is the potential of dilaton field. And since we are working in the 5 dimension, so we are using G5, basically the 5-dimensional Newton constant. Now, so what we do, like I will show the picture first. What we do, we have this string. The endpoints of the string are basically the quark anti-quark pair, okay? And this is the black hole horizon RH, and just above the black hole horizon, we have suspended the string, okay? So what we do, we give the string a slight time dependent perturbation. And since we all know the black hole is basically the source of chaos, so if we just perturb the string by a small amount, because of the black hole, the string will start to oscillate in a very chaotic way. So that is mapped to, because of the holographic picture, the whatever happens in the bulk is mapped to the boundary by ADS-CFT. So by studying this time dependent perturbation oscillations, the analysis of it will give some idea about how the QCD will. Any questions till now?
So this picture is dual to some role of QCD
Yeah.
at the boundary.
Yeah. By the perturbation oscillating will tell us how the QCD, the chaos of QCD is in deconfined phase, because it's a thermal system. So for high temperature, the black hole, it will give you how the QCD behaves in there.
I'm a bit confused, but you're talking about QED in the bulk, right? Maya? No? You had QED in the previous slide.
QCD.
No, bulk Maxwell action.
Yeah, you had bulk Q.
Yeah.
This is QED, right?
No, it's QCD.
Oh, you said U1 gauge field. That's
Yeah. You can check, it's QCD.
No, FMN is a gauge field strength for U1 field.
Yeah.
That's not QCD, that's QED.
FMN is field strength for UN gauge field.
U1,
And-
yeah. That's QED.
Yeah, on the boundary he has QCD.
Oh, so in the bulk you don't have.
Yeah.
In the bulk you have QED.
In the bulk, we have is like EMD gravity system. That's for the action
Which
for
is,
the.
yeah, I mean
I'm
QED with.
not sure if it's QED or QCD.
Yeah, okay. Maxwell with gravity, but why? So
Because
some of
This is
Introduce
not
the
this is
magnetic
EMD
field.
action in the bulk. This will map to the QCD. This is not the QCD.
I see.
This is the EMD action that's happening in the bulk, not in the.
Okay.
Basically, the U1 gauge field to introduce the magnetic field in the background.
Any questions?
I have the diagram. You're saying you'll give some small perturbation to the string itself. What does it mean in the boundary for this quark and anti-quark?
Yeah. Basically, we have a gluon flux tube between the quark and anti-quark. So we are trying to basically analyze the origin of chaos. Where does the chaos originate in that? Is it in the chaos, the flux tube, or at the endpoints of the quark anti-quark pair? So the whole study going on. Like we are still not sure where it is, but
But this perturbation is like a kick on the quark, or is it like some charges? What is it?
yeah, it's like a
Local
kick,
charge.
small kick.
So at some time, do you think that pair will be free? Like the string will
No.
break
That string is always joined. If it breaks, then it will be like.
Like the-
I have not shown the pictures in the paper. Like we have three kinds of stable string, unstable string, and when the string just basically breaks. So we are only focusing on the unstable part of the string. Unstable means like when basically it's we have near the black hole, but it's not so far away that it's very like the effect is not visible. So it's near the black hole and it's unstable. So because we can study chaos only when the thing is unstable. Otherwise, like. So these are basically mathematics of the perturbation. So we have time independent perturbation, and we are using psi TL, and for the we have R for the this R represents for the horizon case, and X is in the parallel, and R is basically in the perpendicular. So this is R and X coordinate. Okay, so this is time independent perturbation, and to describe the time dependent perturbation, we have this. First, we take the quadratic action into the picture. So for from the action, we'll have this action equation of motion, and basically we do the Sturm-Liouville approach. Sturm-Liouville is basically the approach to find is to basically solve the eigenvalue problem. So we translate our this partial differential equation into eigenvalue problem by the use of Sturm-Liouville equation, by Sturm-Liouville approach. So from there we will get the eigenvalues and the eigenfunctions of our system, basically. And to include basically detect the chaotic behavior, we also take into account of the third order perturbations. So for third order we have this, and just like in quantum mechanics, we break it into the eigenfunctions in E0 and E1. So this is the third order action, and combined action, second order and third order, we take into account, and all these coefficients K1, K2, K3, K4, K5 that will play a major role in our analysis. So I have not shown all the maths. If you want to if you want to see the whatever the steps that are being done, you can just consult the paper. So yeah, basically I am working in two frames, Einstein frame and string frame. So we have this is the metric for the ansatz of the metric for the Einstein frame, and there is a general procedure when you want to convert from Einstein frame to string frame. You have to do a Delaton transformation. That's written there, GSMN e to the power √235 Gman, because you have to cover it with the dilaton field to go in the string frame. So that's, these two metrics will be used differently, one for the Einstein frame and one for the string frame. Just the difference of the dilaton field is in there.
And why are you just writing about the magnetic field on this?
Sorry?
Why do you, I mean, you just took magnetic field, right, of the background, right? FMN has only
Yeah,
magnetic
yeah.
field, no electric field, so
No, it's
The value.
chemical potential is there in the GR. I have not shown the expression for GR, the metric function.
I think it's why are you taking
Taking
this
this-
answer?
Because we are trying to embed the magnetic field into our them metric. That's why basically. To make it more magnetized, like to magnetize, if you want to magnetize it, we have to include the magnetic term in the metric.
In the boundary, F mu nu corresponds to some current, right?
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So he's switching on some specific charge. right?
Special.
Yeah.
So you're simultaneously changing the action also, right? When you are going from string frame to Einstein.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. We are changing because we are basically converting the GS into by a dilaton transition. We are including dilaton. So for in one there's no dilaton, in one we have dilaton. So this is all like maths. Now coming to the pictures, pictures might attract like attention or some attract your attention because maths were like all. So this is in the string frame. So from the action we can get the potential. Okay, so basically in your system, if you have a potential, like in your Lagrangian, you have a kinetic term and potential term. If you dot a potential, and if you get a saddle point, like I dot a potential, I have one minima there written by the red dot, and the saddle point by the blue dot. If in your system there is a saddle point, then you are sure that it's an unstable system. Because saddle is like unstable, saddle point comes when the system unstable. So if the saddle point picture is come, then you are sure then okay, I can do the chaotic analysis now. So this is the sign that okay, now I can go ahead and see whatever chaos analysis thing, whatever the different other methods are telling us. This is the first thing that you check. If there is a saddle point, then you're good to go. Now this is these are the point gear sections that I described what they previously. Now as you can see here, I have taken a constant magnetic field which is at 0.2. The string length is fixed, and for a constant energy, because if I change energy, then the surface of my surface of section will change. So for constant energy, 10⁻⁵, and here you can see from the first row is for the parallel, and the magnetic field is in the parallel orientation, and for second it's like in the perpendicular orientation. So I'm changing the chemical potential here. Magnetic field is fixed, and I'm changing the chemical potential from 0 to 0.6 to 1.2. Okay, as you can see, like here in the first case, let's focus on the parallel case. Here you can see there's more dust. Like it's more not so regular. The orbits are not so regular. There's more dust here. So it's basically like a more chaotic system compared to like if you go increase the chemical potential to 0.6. Now you can see that there are some structures that are getting they are getting here appearing here. So if you go increase more to 1.2, you can see more structure. So basically, if we are increasing chemical potential and we are getting the structures are getting more better and better, that means the chaos is decreasing from vectorial way. So one case section basically the more the structure, the less the chaos. The less the structure of dust, the more the dust, the more the chaos. Okay. So this is the pictorialization. Upper side is parallel and the second row is perpendicular. Now this is the, I have just plotted the maximum Lyapunov exponent. This what you call torus shape is for parallel configuration, and the sphere is for perpendicular configuration. So what I am doing here is for B, I am changing B from 0 to 0.5, and I am also changing mu from 0 to 1.2. If I focus on 1B, like for B 0.1, you can see as I am increasing mu from 0 to 1.2, the basically Lyapunov exponent is decreasing. And I told you like maximum, if it's positive, that means there's more chaos. So basically the positive value is decreasing. That means when I am increasing mu from 0 to 1.2, the system is getting less chaotic, so and more ordered. So effect of chemical potential at a constant magnetic field is to stabilize the system in case of the string field. for both the parallel and perpendicular case. Now,
Do you have some expression like how Lyapunov is decreasing like for this magnetic field?
no,
Analyzing
it's pure
space.
algorithm, there's no expression, no formula for it. Pure algorithm, like I used the Fourier series algorithm, that Wolf analysis, and from there I got it. It's pure all computational, no analytical formula for it. Same thing for the Einstein frame without the dilaton. Now, as you can, it's just the reverse. In the string frame, you saw that the chaos was decreasing. Now you can see the structures are getting deformed. Like if you focus on the parallel case, there's more structure in the mu0 case, and as I'm increasing mu from 0 to 1.2, there's less structure, and there's totally dust. So basically, for the perpendicular, it's less intense, but it's also there. Like the structures are getting deformed. So that's basically in the Einstein frame. Here, the effect of the chemical potential, pictorially, it's being seen that the effect of chemical potential, as I increase the chemical potential, the chaos is increasing. So it's destabilizing the system. Now here I have shown separately because the intensity of the Lyapunov exponent was different. But yeah, same thing is happening. The Lyapunov exponent is decreasing as I go from 0 to 1.2. Sorry, 0 to mu0. Sorry, it's increasing. Maximum Lyapunov exponent is increasing because mu, as I go from 0 to 1.2, you can see the curve is going up. That means the maximum value it's going up. Maximum Lyapunov exponent is increasing. If it's increasing, that means the system is getting more chaotic. Okay. And for the MSS bound we have also tested. Like we have the Hawking temperature. From there we can calculate MSS bound. So you can see the upper surface, the black gray area is basically the MSS bound, and you can see all the lambda max are below that surface area. So that means basically MSS bound is satisfied. So you can see we have tested that our model also satisfies the MSS bound, which should be satisfied for any thermal system. So these are the conclusion. Basically, we found that depending on the frame, we have two different effects. If you are in Einstein frame without a dilaton, the effect of chemical potential is something. It's basically increasing the chaos, and if you are in the string frame with the dilaton field, the effect is quite reverse. It's decreasing it. And we have basically taken both the magnetic field and the chemical potential, so the interplay of it we are taking into account. There are some open questions. Open questions are like, suppose why is it happening basically? So if we take the dilaton field, the chaos is for the increasing chemical potential, the chaos is decreasing. But if we exclude it, then it's increasing. And second, I showed the picture of saddle point. So all the analysis is near the saddle point. We are not at the saddle point, we are near the saddle point. Saddle point is basically the source of chaos here. And if we are near it, we see that we have natural behavior. But if we are at the saddle point, then in the Einstein frame, the behavior is quite different. Like I have not shown it's in the paper, if you can see. So these are some open questions that we need to to resolve. Like what's the physics behind it? I'm not. This is all observation. We have not yet found what's the physics behind it. Yes. And these are the references that I basically papers that I took. Yeah. Thank you.